Bethesda Game Studios has had a ton coming out around the company as of late, but almost none of this has been from official news or announcements, as instead, we've just been getting a ton of Bethesda leaks. There's been a flood of new information and reveals around the Fallout TV show, including some very promising things on release dates. We might be seeing Season 2 and Season 3 sooner than many of you are thinking, but also apparently an Oblivion remake is potentially releasing as soon as tomorrow. And Bethesda overall still supposedly has 2 secret games that might be coming out later this year. What has easily been the biggest leak to drop recently is that apparently an Oblivion remake is coming incredibly soon, with both the release and reveal targeting April, that being the April that is already about 1/3 over. And the gap between the reveal and release will be minimal. A shadow drop is reportedly possible here. So should we even believe this? There's of course been a ton of leaks and rumors around this game, but is it actually possible or even probable that we'll be playing an Oblivion remake in the mere weeks or days to come? At least for me, I'm genuinely convinced this one is true, and I'll lay out why. As you probably heard, all the way back in summer of 2023, some random dude leaked that Virtuous Games was working on an Oblivion remake on Reddit. And even at the time, this was actually a leak of several games, not only Oblivion. And even this original post sounded weird. The person claimed it was using dual engines, Unreal Engine 5 over the original Oblivion engine. But the mods on the forum did verify that the person did used to work at Virtuous Games. And even all the way back in the summer of 2023, NateTheHate described hearing about this game, and the real damning piece of evidence that it was real came a few months later as this Bethesda roadmap leaked with Oblivion on it. So right off the bat, this one had more going for it. Yeah, sure, it was just a random Reddit post at first, but then it started to get backed up by official sources, and then we got an actual verification that, yeah, the game is real. But things were pretty quiet up until a few months ago, where we started to hear rumblings again, and NateTheHate has updated us saying the game should be revealed and released in April. And NateTheHate is one of the most accurate leakers right now. He leaked Doom the Dark Ages' existence and the fact that it would drop on PlayStation 5. He correctly leaked the Indiana Jones release timing and that it would come to PlayStation 5. He said a PlayStation State of Play would happen in February, about a month before it actually was revealed. And even just last week, he said a Nintendo presentation would happen. 4 days later, we got one. And a ton more. This person has years of accurate leaks at this point. But hey, even if you don't just trust NateTheHate, I totally get not wanting to subscribe to one of these insiders. Andy Robinson, owner of the Video Game Chronicle, has also said he heard that Oblivion is dropping in April. And even Jeff Grubb, somebody else who has leaked a ton of stuff correctly in the past, has said he also heard Oblivion is coming this month. And even just the fact that all of these major media outlets are covering this should be a pretty big clue. Lots of times I'll hear information, like let's say I heard Fallout 4 was getting an update in Q4 of 2025. I might not necessarily cover that myself, I don't want to be somebody leaking that information, but I might prominently cover it in a video, as it aligns with what I'm hearing behind the scenes. You ever notice how there's next to no articles about a Fallout 3 remake, but then all of a sudden we got a ton of articles about this Oblivion remake? Yeah, there's a reason for that. And even if you think a shadow drop from Bethesda Game Studios would be insane or impossible, all the way back in 2019, Todd Howard said this.
I like when you really see the game to when it's out is as short as possible.
Yeah.
Short as people will let.
You would go shorter if you could?
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe, I'm trying to think what's perfect right now. Maybe a week just to get people excited.
Right.
To have those moments of, I saw it, there's some trailers, percolates in your mind, and they're...
As far as a more specific release date for Oblivion goes, that's where some of the more recent rumors start to come in. A new insider named Detective Seeds claimed to have a source, and he said a few dates at this point, but as of right now was prominently saying that Oblivion will come after the ESO anniversary event, which will end on the 22nd of April. So basically in the last week of April or so. But this person doesn't have much of a track record, so I'd really take this with a grain of salt, although it does line up pretty similarly to what NateTheHate, who has a phenomenal track record, is also saying. He's explicitly saying the second half of the month for a release for the Oblivion remake, and as of right now, as things stand, there are a ton of people saying that the remake will be revealed this week, so potentially in the next day or two. Many speculating April 10th could be that day, and something I would just say as a general guiding principle, if Bethesda is going to release or reveal something, it's often not on a Friday, because you don't want to release it or reveal it and then have everyone immediately take off for the weekend, so you do it on a Thursday instead. That's why so many Creation Club releases dropped on a Thursday. So a reveal tomorrow with a release a couple of weeks later seems very possible right now. A couple of months ago, MP First even noticed that one Virtuous employee had his personal website up containing a ton of descriptions of the overhauled features for the Oblivion remake, basically describing how several game systems like sneaking, hit reactions, the HUD, archery, and more were modernized for the remake. And I've seen some of the comments online. A ton of people don't believe this Oblivion leak and are saying, well, what about that Fallout 3 remaster? We heard all those rumors and that went nowhere. Except, no, you kinda didn't. The Fallout 3 remaster popped up on the same Bethesda leaked roadmap, and very notably, it was slated to drop a full 2 years after Oblivion. Beyond this leaked roadmap, we have never had a legitimate leak on the Fallout 3 remaster. Even NateTheHate said years ago he hasn't heard anything about that one. And more so than anything else, this is just a reflection of how lazy and how poor of a job people do at checking sources. This coming on both the creator and the viewer side. I've covered basically all of these Fallout 3 remaster leaks, and the vast majority of the time I just end up laughing at them because they're so ridiculous and outlandish. If you're then choosing to believe some of that content or following creators that are making it seem realistic, I think you were unfortunately misled. There really has been nothing to ever point to a Fallout 3 remaster coming soon. Although, thankfully if nothing else, we do have remakes coming from modders. Sky Oblivion is a fan-made recreation of Oblivion in Skyrim's engine, and this has been confirmed as dropping in 2025. Even beyond that, we know there is an ongoing remake of Fallout 3 and Fallout 4's engine with Fallout 4, the Capital Wasteland project, and that team has diligently been working on recreating the Pit DLC as a standalone release. But earlier today, we also learned that the Xbox Game Showcase 2025 will be returning this summer on June 8th. We'll be seeing a specific deep dive on The Outer Worlds 2, which does sort of rule out some other games being here, at least probably. Fable feels a lot less likely now. But also, of course, Bethesda will be here and may have some surprise reveals or releases of their own. If you look back at the leaked Bethesda roadmap that was made in 2020 but leaked in 2023, we can see 2 codename games slated to release in the year alongside Doom: The Dark Ages. Also, just as an aside, Doom was slated to get DLC during its release year, so it seems probable that some Dark Ages DLC could be shown at the summer showcase. But beyond that, Project Kestrel and Project Platinum have actually been known about for a while now, and these may be 2 giant games we get to see for the first time this year. As of right now, it seems like Project Kestrel is the upcoming ZeniMax Online Studios game. We saw this codename pop up in a past GeForce Now leak, with ZeniMax Online Studios being the devs behind The Elder Scrolls Online, which has been ramping down recently. And that would make sense, because it seems like their giant new MMO has been ramping up. As far as actual gameplay details, or even just the theme or what this game will be, we really know next to nothing. At one point, there was a job listing for somebody having to do with vehicles, so seemingly the game will have vehicles, but that's really it. But what we do know is this game is shaping up to be giant. This project has been in the works since at least October of 2018, and in that time, ZeniMax Online Studios has gone from 1 office in Hunt Valley to 5 offices, as they now have locations in Austin, Madison, San Diego, and Montreal, in addition to Hunt Valley. We heard for a while how ESO wasn't one of, but actually the #1 earner at Bethesda Softworks. So it seems like ZeniMax Online Studios had a bit more freedom than typical. They perhaps got a big budget to make a really big MMO, and based off this roadmap, we should be learning about this or potentially even playing it this year. 7 years of dev time, 4 new studios being opened. This could end up being something special, but like I said, we really have no idea what this game will be. And Project Platinum is even more of a curiosity. This was also in that GeForce Now leak from years ago, but originally it was listed as Indiana Jones. As we look back at this leaked roadmap, Indiana Jones even has a separate listing from Project Platinum, so obviously it's not that anymore. And as such, many fans are instead speculating that Platinum could just be a different game from Machine Games. And the other game that Machine Games is likely working on is Wolfenstein 3. We've even seen some job listings pointing to this being in the works. It does seem crazy, even insane, to get Indiana Jones in 2024, then followed up by Wolfenstein 3 in 2025. But something is on this roadmap, in this spot, and honestly, it is just a bit of an unknown. To me, Wolfenstein 3 dropping this year seems implausible, and at this point, several years have passed. This game could just not exist at all anymore, it could have been cancelled internally, and the reality is, we just don't really know. Wolfenstein 3 seems like the best educated guess right now, so perhaps just a trailer if nothing else. But what has been truly pushing things forward for Bethesda as of late is the Fallout TV show, which has had an abundance of set leaks come out over the last few months. If you're somebody who hasn't watched season 1 of the Fallout TV show and you do care about spoilers, I would definitely skip this segment of the video, but otherwise season 2 of the Fallout TV show is taking us directly to Vegas. The main characters will make several stops along the way there, so we're going to see places like Starlight Drive-In, but also more iconic, Novak is going to be making a return here, and there's even going to be an entire Freeside segment with these new camper vans, and from some past set sightings, users reported seeing the Kings make a return, but this time they'd be fully ghoulified, with some of the major leaks coming up from the strip itself. Many of the iconic casinos now have their entrances rebuilt, with the Gomorrah having a proper interior as well, and although it hasn't been shared publicly, I've also seen some pre-war filming here containing some major characters that we didn't know were pre-war characters, but there's also going to be post-war filming on the strip. We've actually seen a mix of things, where the strip is being filmed post-war with the lights on, but then separately post-war with the lights off. We also know a big fight's going to occur here between a new NCR Deathclaw killer power armor as well as a Deathclaw, which we have seen the animatronic for on set. So it seems like the strip will kind of have this nice mix of scenes, likely a bunch of pre-war stuff featuring House and his rise building up his empire as we see it at the time of Vegas, but then some post-war stuff where things are just going to be a post-war Vegas with more typical interactions, and then some more proper fighting on a destroyed strip. Perhaps we get several time jumps in season 2 of the Fallout TV show. But of course, the thing that's been truly plaguing TV shows as of late is the massive gaps between seasons, but Fallout might be working to address that. As of right now, it's not totally clear when season 2 of the Fallout TV show is slated to come out. We know filming began back in November, but since a ton of work from season 1 could be reused, as well as the filming was moved to California, we also heard how season 2 filming should go even more smoothly compared to season 1. And as such, for a while, the rumor was the Fallout TV show was targeting an end of 2025 release date for season 2, and that would actually line up pretty closely to what Kilter Films did with season 1 and 2 of Westworld, where they basically had a super fast turnaround as Westworld became one of the premier shows on HBO at the time. We're now seeing a very similar situation with Fallout becoming a premier show on Prime right now, but then filming was delayed and actually paused for at least a week as a result of the California fires, so things are a bit less clear. It definitely seems like late 2025 is the hopeful view, with early or the first half of 2026 being the more realistic view. Perhaps you could see a March release date just like season 1. But more surprising news, Fallout season 3 may end up coming even sooner than you think. Just recently on the Hot Mic podcast, insider Jeff Snyder said this about Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, the executives at Kilter Films who are showrunning Fallout.
I was told that him and Lisa Joy are a little bit busy actually doing season 3 of Fallout.
Oh, okay.
They're busy filming season 2. I already, reported like Kumail is going to be part of that cast.
Yeah.
But I think that they're already planning out season 3, so they may be too busy to just write a Bond movie.
That would be big, and honestly does just kind of make a bit of sense. Fallout has quickly become one of the biggest properties for Prime Video, with their current number 1 being The Boys, which is coming to a conclusion and debuting its final season this year. So it does make perfect sense that Prime Video wants more Fallout while Fallout is hot for them. Of course, you should still take this with a grain of salt. This makes things seem hopeful for the future of the additional seasons of Fallout, but even as of right now, we don't even know when season 2 is dropping, let alone season 3. With that said, that's a recap of some of the recent leaks and rumors around Bethesda overall and some of their future plans. And who knows, maybe just later this week we're going to have some major updates on what Bethesda is releasing soon.